for a number of years in Tanzania, we have been using what we call the traditional sources of financing, and which are mostly coming from taxes and from a certain extent loans and grants. And based on the experience which we have had in the past, especially when we were reviewing the previous national development plans, we have been observing persistent financing gap. So at some time then it was important to look for some other ways in which the government will be able to implement its national development plans. So in May 2021, the government made a purposeful decision, to adopt innovative financing mechanisms to complement what has been doing for quite some time. So there are a number of issues that we are looking forward in terms of this new approach. And one of them is that by so doing, we'll be able to free some other resources that probably the government will have been used to implement this. Because by means of, these innovative financing ways, it means that you're allowing now the private sector as well to come in and work together with the government. So we are of a very positive opinion that pressure on the government balance sheet will be reduced. But another thing is that what we are observing in Tanzania is that the financial markets are very strong and highly integrated. The experiences which we have had in the past is that the instruments which have been issued in the market, they have all been oversubscribed. So this is indeed an opportunity for the government also to tap on the potential that the financial markets are having. But again, there are some other options because by so doing, we'll be able to implement much more development projects. We'll be in a position to do a timely delivery, resource mobilization, but also building up the capacity, especially across the government when it comes to developing bankable projects that are accepted in such kind of markets. Normally, when we prepare the National Development Plan, we also prepare a financing strategy. And because based on that financing strategy, we are able to establish what will be coming from the public sources and what it is that we anticipate, to generate from the private sector. So they are our partners, we are working together, they know what is required, they're involved in the process of preparing the plan, monitoring, even at a stage when the government is evaluating that. And the good thing is that in Tanzania, we have all the necessary conducive environment in terms of the policies, legal and regulatory frameworks. So that's how we engage and take the private sector on board. Let me start by positive ones. And this is indeed very, very important because recently, especially on corporate issuances, we have observed that corporate issuances have been performing very good. For example, recently, we have issuances that were done in September. One was done by a bank which we call CRDB. It had intended to raise a green bond to the tune of 780 billion T shillings. So in the first tranche, they were planning to raise about 40 billion T shillings. So eventually, when that tranche was issued, it was realized that there was oversubscription because the bank was able to raise about 171 billion, So that was an oversubscription of about more than 300%. So that was really a very big increase, indicating that, well, the markets are vibrant, but also there is a very big interest for the people to participate in such kind of instrument. And another one is, there was also another issuance which was done by NMB. And I think this issuance was of about 1 trillion Tanzanian shillings. So when they were also going for the first tranche, it was also oversubscribed. So what we are realizing is that first is that going by statistics, what we are observing currently is that about 80% of those who are participating in the market, they are retail investors. You know, previously, some years back, we used to have a phenomena whereby most of them were institutional investors. So this is clearly giving us a very good message that, you know, the majority of the Tanzanians are now aware of the opportunities that this kind of financing will do for them. But another thing is, we are observing a trend whereby investors are kind of interested to relate with this kind of insurances. For example, when the green bond by CRDB was issued, many people were interested because of the fact that they were happy to realize that these projects will be environmentally friendly. So even when these other issuance by the NMB, this was it was a social bond targeting mostly women and the youth, especially for SMEs. So you can see many other investors were also interested to come in and support. The other part is on the sovereign issuances. Currently, the government of Tanzania is trying to put in place the necessary required frameworks to allow for such kind of issuances. And we are very grateful for UNDP for all the support that it is offering, especially by bringing in experts who are working with our local team to try to develop the necessary framework that will allow for the issuances of this sovereign instrument. So this can be infrastructure bonds, green bonds, sukuk, and many others. We did not have that framework in place. And another thing which we are observing also as a lesson is that capacity building is really very, very important, especially for the sovereign. And this is also because it is based on the fact that, you know, this is a new thing. And if you want to issue such kind of an instrument, you need to prepare a bankable projects. Now, to prepare a bankable project, it entails a number of procedures, processes, technical expertise, and all that. So those are the good lessons, but also the issues that probably if we address them, we'll be able to do better in the future. I have the following recommendations to some other countries. The first one is that, you know, I think this is the right way to go now, because globally you will learn that the world is experiencing a number of economic difficulties, and the governments alone will not be able to do everything for the people. But what we are also observing that the private sector is ready and willing to complement what the government is doing. So I think this is the right time to use this approach to complement these efforts. So that is one thing that I urge the countries to do. Another thing is that it is really important for countries to prepare a conducive environment for this approach, you know, to exist and sustain. So it is indeed very important to have a review of the existing policies, probably legal and regulatory frameworks, to ensure that they support this kind of innovative financing approaches. And the third one, for now, is that capacity building is really critical, especially for the government. The need for mindset change, the need to understand what is it that it entails getting listed in a market and all that. So all these issues are not very common to many governments. So the need for capacity building is critical.